So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, hot fudge sundae y en la nueva creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Para pa pa pa.
The Dental Download podcast is your source for insight from conversations with fellow dentists, specialists, and leaders in the industry. With new episodes every Monday morning, I'm your host, Dr. Haley. Let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Download podcast. This is a solo episode about a topic I'm very passionate about, and that is making your life something that you love, a life where you find fulfillment, joy, inner peace, harmony, all those kind of popular buzzwords these days. But we're going to give you some tangible ways to actually do that. And this is sort of a life audit, if you will. We're approaching that halfway point through the year. So I don't know if you set goals for this year and how you're progressing towards them, but whether or not that you did, I feel like there's always ways that self-reflection can help improve your day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be dramatic changes. It can be little things over time and little progress in certain areas, or maybe you're ready for just a total clean slate, fresh start, and you literally want to wake up tomorrow and fully commit, full send to be that best version of yourself. Wherever you're at on that threshold of how much you want to ramp up your life to get towards that alignment, fulfillment sort of feeling, this episode is going to help you because I'm going to give you breakdown amongst different categories of our lives, ways that you can assess how you are doing in those categories, and if I have any ideas to share on ways that you can tangibly act upon that. So we're not going to do a check-in this week. We're just going to get right into it because I want this episode to be snappy and relatively quick. That way you can just get on with your day and start encouraging these activities in your own life or mindsets, whatever it may be. So let's get right into the life audit that can help you craft the life that you love. And I want to say at the very beginning, truly, although we can't control everything that happens to us, happens around us, how other people respond to things, we do have a lot of autonomy in our actions. So maybe your action won't yield the response from someone or the result that you hoped. That is out of your control, but the way you act yourself is 100% in your control. And making strategic actions over time will help you create a life you love. Whether you do something and get a negative response or a poor reaction, that can tell you based on how you feel about it. And if you're fueled to keep going, if you're discouraged, if you realize you're not acting in a way that's in alignment with your values, that's going to help you reassess what to do next. So either you'll just grind harder towards that specific thing, or it's going to help you pivot and reset towards something else. So our actions are very, very important and crucial for creating the life you love. And I say creating, it's an active word, and it's a word that takes many different pieces. You think like artistry, crafting, creating. It's a very holistic, slow growing, intentional, personal thing. So for every single person, this episode is going to yield different results and ideas. So we're going to start with the first category, which is mindset and personal growth. I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself in doing this life audit. This might be worth kind of going back and saving these or going ahead and writing them down if you're not busy driving or something right now. That way you can genuinely either reflect on them, maybe journal about them, and even if you need to break down each life category one at a time so that you can truly be thoughtful and intentional with it, Really taking time to think about this stuff is going to allow you to craft that life that you enjoy every day. Of course, there's going to be hard times, but by knowing that you are living as your highest self, your best self, in alignment with your purpose and your values, you will feel fulfilled even when you deal with challenging moments. You might not always be happy, but you would feel at peace, at harmony. And that is really what we're striving for, right? So, mindset and personal growth is our first category. Questions to ask yourself. Do I feel mentally stimulated and challenged? This doesn't have to be through work, but it could be. It could be through a project that you're doing, through a volunteer opportunity that you're doing, an extracurricular that you're doing, just your family life, if that's something that requires a lot of mental stamina. Next question. What am I currently learning or curious about? This is something that if people get too stagnant in their day-to-day and they're not striving to slightly evolve and improve, even if you feel like you're at your best self and you're where you want to be in your career, you're where you want to be in your life, there's always more to lean into the things you love. And you can always get more knowledgeable or better at almost any type of hobby or profession. Do I spend time reflecting or journaling on my goals and emotions? I mentioned this earlier. You could go through these prompts, just silent reflection. You could talk through them with a loved one, or you could journal. I'm not a big journaler person at all, but I know some people that really are. I personally just like to sit and think. So I'm more of a reflection type of person. This next one is huge, so definitely listen up here. Do I talk to myself kindly? And this, you can take down that whole big rabbit hole of manifestation and affirmations. I think that there's a time and place for all that, especially affirmations I think are great, and they really do rewire your brain. And I utilize that back at a period in undergrad and during some of dental school. And I think that's a big reason, in addition to just putting myself out there with this podcast, that I feel a lot more confident and comfortable in myself than I used to. But a good chunk of that was from speaking kindly to myself, thinking kind thoughts in my head, and not just kind, but overly kind and overly almost confident. I don't want to say that you're, stuck up and cocky, but like, I am great at blank. There's nothing wrong with that. Or even I am the best at blank. I don't necessarily get to that point, maybe because I'm not at that full level of confidence yet, but speaking very kindly to yourself in your head. And I would recommend going the full send of doing daily affirmations. You can look that up if you don't know what that would entail. For some people, it's writing them down, but some people it's speaking it out loud. For me, it was more the speaking out loud because it made it more real. That actually made the impact.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Last question in the mindset personal growth area is, what limiting beliefs might be holding me back? What limiting beliefs might be holding me back? That one's very deep, and I think you could spend weeks thinking about limiting beliefs. And that kind of goes back to that last question of negative self-talk. ways that you view the world with a scarcity mindset, ways that you view your own abilities as lesser than or never capable of. And that absolutely does hold you back. Hopefully, if you're someone that listens to this podcast, you are more of the abundance, confident type of person, because I feel like that's the community that we're curating here. And I try to encourage that in every single one of you listeners. But if that's something you're struggling with, just know it takes time, but it also takes action and intention. It's not going to get better, all of those negative self-talk and limiting beliefs, unless you do something about it. And I really think affirmations are a great place to start, but taking action, just doing the things that make you uncomfortable is literally the only way to get comfortable. It stinks, but it's the truth. So I would say something you can do right now towards this: go ahead and pick one area from all of those prompts, one thing that sticks out to you, and seek growth. Whether that be a mentor, whether that be a book or a podcast that you're going to commit to finishing, whether that be an activity or group that you're going to sign up and attend that's going to put you out of your comfort zone, something that's going to help you feel more curious, more challenged, more stimulated, and more uncomfortable. And that's going to help you grow personally and help you find that fulfillment in life as you have less things that feel out of reach. Next category is health and wellness. So we want to ask, how do I physically feel each day? Am I energized? Am I sluggish? Am I anxious? And what do you want to do about it? Am I prioritizing sleep, movement, and nutrition in a balanced way? So it's almost twofold. Are you prioritizing sleep? Are you prioritizing movement? Are you prioritizing nutrition? And then are you handling it in a balanced, healthy, sustainable way? And again, I know it's a little different for everyone, but I think it'll easily be a yes or no answer in your head, or at least I think it should be. Do I have regular routines that support my mental and physical well-being? So of those things above, do you do that on a pretty normal, consistent basis in a way that your body and your body's rhythms and cycles are used to that positive health input? Am I in tune with how stress affects me and how to best manage it for myself? That's a big one. So I want to give you some ideas of small wellness habits that can start to have that little snowball effect. So some ideas would be going for walks. I really, really love walks. I know it's kind of a silly thing to say, but it can be very, very relaxing to either go with a loved one and decompress about the day, go and call a loved one if you don't have them like physically there, or just go by yourself and think and soak in nature, look at the pretty colors of the flowers blooming. And I truly do find a lot of release from anxiety. When I was really like hyper anxious back in 2020, my walks that I went on multiple times a day were the best way for me to just do something and stop thinking and overanalyzing. And I might not work for everyone, but it worked really well for me. Our next category is our relationships. Who are the 5 people that I spend the most time with? Going one by one, how do they make me feel? I've talked about this before, that one of the things I think has been so rewarding about my first year of my associateship is just how excellent the people at my office are. Every single team member, including the doctors, but everyone there really live with similar values and motivations towards our efforts as a dental provider. And not only that, but as people. And I view them as very kind, very zen, very ambitious and successful humans. And I spend 4 days a week with them. So being surrounded by people that motivate you, encourage you, lift you up, it makes such a big difference in your mindset. If your work environment is toxic, your home environment is toxic, your friend group is toxic, think about taking some distance. Or obviously it could be very important people in your life. Sit down and have a conversation with them. Be like, hi, I listened to this podcast and it made me realize that sometimes when we hang out and this happens, it makes me feel this way. And I don't think that's the best for my overall well-being. Do you think that we could try to avoid blank? Or could we discuss this elephant in the room so that it stops creating tension and anxiety in our relationship? That's how I would go about it if I had some negative, toxic, big cloud of a relationship looming over me. Do my relationships feel nourishing or draining? Am I investing time and energy into people I care about? Do I truly feel valued by those around me? I already gave you some tips for how to handle those relationships in your life that maybe you want to keep the person, but you're having a problem. Or if you're not that close to the person, it might just be time to kind of distance yourself. You don't have to do this big dramatic, like, I'm cutting you off, I'm blocking you, never talk to me again, unless that's best for you. But just distance yourself. Spend less time with that relationship and more time into the relationships that encourage you and support you and motivate you and value you, and that it's a give and take where you're both benefiting and feel like it's a good, healthy relationship. Next topic is purpose and passion. Do I wake up excited about what I'm doing most days? And if you don't, I feel like the general public doesn't always feel this way. So it's okay, but that's just added goodness towards that overall peace and harmony. If you enjoy, in most cases, that's going to be your job because that's what you're doing most of the week. But there could also be something else that you look forward to. If your job is just a means to an end to make some money, okay. But what else do you get to do that day that brings you fulfillment? Whether it's time with your family, doing those things that are good for your physical health, doing the things that are good for your mental health, hobbies, fitness, nutrition, talking to loved ones, time with friends, any of those things could also make you wake up excited for the day. But you want to make sure that you're doing a couple of those things per day, even if it's in small amounts that give you some fulfillment. If the bulk of your day, whether that's being a caregiver for someone or a student or an employee or an owner, whatever it is, if that sometimes gives you stress and anxiety, at least you have other little tidbits throughout the day that bring some positivity. Next question, am I living in alignment with my values? I've talked about this a lot in some of my solo episodes and even in my financial episodes, and one's about finding your why behind your purpose in life and your purpose as a dentist. So hopefully, again, as listeners in this community, at least have a general idea of your purpose and what you think your purpose in life is. It's going to grow, it's going to evolve as you age, as you have more experiences, as you lose and gain relationships. It's just going to change and evolve. However, I think narrowing that down as early as you can helps you make decisions that support that end goal, if you will, or that value system of what you want in your life and what you want your life to look like. So am I living in alignment with my values? So I would recommend that you at least have one thing, a physical thing that you do every single day that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. Maybe 3 days a week it's this, once a month it's this social group that you go to, and then the other 4 days of the week it's this other thing that you do. Like you call your mom on Mondays, on Tuesdays you work on your hobby, on Wednesdays you get to read your book, on Thursdays you treat yourself to a workout class, whatever it may be. But having something, it doesn't have to cost money, but that you look forward to each day and supports your personal growth, your personal alignment, and lives in alignment with those values that you have. Next up is financial peace. I think very few people, again, feel peace with their finances, especially in the dental industry where so much of your self-worth could get misconstrued as dollars on a paper and dollars per procedure and patients seen per day. And just these quotas can make you not look at yourself as a human or look at yourself as less than, rather than a healer and someone that is caring for people using this skill that you've honed. So it can be really easy to take the finances of it all and go down a dark path in dentistry. And that's a lot of times fueled by the student debt and the debt of acquiring a practice and just the pressure that society views that dentists are rich, and all of these things can really mess with your head. But here are some questions to ask, and I'll give you my overall tip at the end for not having as much anxiety and stress about finances. But honestly, I still do at times. Like literally this month, we're like, oh my gosh, I feel like we're not on track. We go, I think every other month we flip. Last month when I did my financial tips episode, I was like, this was a great month for us. We killed it. And then the month before, we're like, oh my gosh, how is we ever going to like get to our retirement goals? Or how are we going to afford kids when we already spend X amount of money now? Like all those things are stressful. I get it. I'm there with you. And it just is something we're always growing on, myself included. So, do I feel in control of my finances, or are they a source of anxiety? And honestly, I feel like it can be both. You can feel aware and in control while still being anxious, just with the extent of the burden of our practice loans, our student debt, whatever you may have on your plate. And working on ways to alleviate that anxiety in other pockets of your life with good mental health practice, good physical health practices, I think is the best way to help with that. If you are following a financial plan and you are aware of what you're spending, saving, but still feel anxious at times, I think that's when you need to lean into that more mental, physical health element of your life to help with that stress. Am I spending in ways that reflect what I value? This is huge because this is the difference between going through your financial statement for a month and saying, I feel crappy. I feel like this is not a good way of spending so much money. Or you might say, you know what, I love my mom and I got her a really nice Mother's Day gift. We did these activities together and I don't regret that because I really value my family and everything that they've done for me. Those would be two examples of good and bad ways of spending money depending on what you value. What does the words financial freedom look like for me? Am I planning for the future while still enjoying my present? So I've said this in the financial episode, and if you want some of my financial experience over the past year and some deeper, longer advice, it's a full hour episode. That was like 3 weeks ago at this point. Listen to that. But the tip I will say is that I think it gives a lot of peace and structure to work with a finance professional, at least short term. There's all different ways you can do it. You can do it where you're paying on a monthly basis. You can do it where you're paying a percent of your assets. You can do it where you just pay 1 or 2 times to kind of get systems in place and then don't return with them. There's all different things you can do, but I highly, highly recommend that you work with a financial expert to give you some peace of mind and structure. Next one is your environment and routine. Does my home and daily routine support the kind of life I want? Do I feel inspired or stuck in my current environment? What can I change about my physical space to feel more at peace? You guys, I love like an aesthetic home, but not aesthetic for the point of like being expensive or overly luxurious, but clean, warm, homey. That gives me so much peace. So I'm so excited that we have the chance to be building and designing this home on our own. It's quite tough to take all these things you love on Pinterest and Instagram and try to bring them into this new space with having a budget and being first-time homeowners and being a very young couple. So it's tough to balance it all, but I'm very grateful to have so much control and ability to take action towards creating a physical space in my home that feels peaceful. How intentional are my mornings and evenings? Next section is the adventure and fun of life. And I thought this was such a funny section to me because I see such a difference between myself and my fiance when it comes to this, and like how much we need of this to feel joy and fulfillment in life. I'm not an innately spontaneous person or like someone that craves spontaneity. I don't shy away from it as much as I used to. Any type of change or like quick change was not for me at the time. It just like stressed me out a lot. I'm much more go with the flow than I used to be since being with Justin, because he is a very, oh, whatever happens, figure it out when we get there. Just say yes to anything, loves any type of socializing and fun activities. So he needs a lot of that in his life. Versus me, I can still be super happy without necessarily a lot of spontaneity or like crazy adventure. I like traveling, but I like it for the purpose of the beauty of it all and the peace and seeing new things and experiences, but not for like the rush and the thrill of it. And I think that's like how you can be different between people. So that's a very black versus white, two contrasting ways of how anything we talked about in this episode. But that's how an example in my own life. But people listening to this are all going to take away totally different things. And that's good. So adventure and fun. When was the last time I did something spontaneous? And again, if I answer this question, I'd be like, I don't know and I don't care. Like, I don't value spontaneity, but some people do. So that's why these questions are quite cool, I would say. What's something new I want to try this year? And again, we're 6 months through the year. So what's something new you did try this year? And is there something else you want to try? Do I prioritize joy and fun, or do I just put it off for someday? And as I talked about in the finance episode, it's a balance, but I am a believer that within reason, you should enjoy your youth and the fruits of your labor while you're young and able to do that more. And maybe you can stay in a place that's like 10,000 steps up to get to the lodging, versus maybe you can't do that when you're 65 and retire. So I'm a believer in not putting everything off that you want to do for someday, setting goals, taking time to save up for them, but then doing it and enjoying it and not waiting 20, 30, 40 years for that. And this one is something that within my relationships, I find that my happiest, most fulfilling relationships that don't feel like you're putting on an act and you can truly be yourself is when do you allow yourself to like show your inner child? So with my partner, with some of my longest term friends, where you can just be silly and goofy with them without thinking about it. And they play into that too. And I think that's so important to have those moments. So are you allowing kind of that inner child to be fulfilled too? And do you have relationships that help bring that out of you? Last thing, this is where it gets even more kind of deep. Alignment and intuition, our last couple questions of the episode. Am I living by default or by design? Am I living by default or by design? Am I listening to my inner voice, your intuition, or am I drowning it out? What's something I know deep down needs to change? And what are you going to do about it? Remember what I said at the very beginning of this episode? Thoughts and feelings and ideas are nothing. Let's be honest. The only thing that matters is action. And I'm not perfect at this at all. There's a million things I could be doing better in my life in every single area of what we talked about in this podcast. I'm here with you. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm striving to be better. And I'm struggling to make that final push, to make that final change towards some of those really important things, or to go all in. Maybe I just have a toe dipped in and I'm scared of failing or giving up and I don't want to be a quitter, so I just don't start at all. I'm there with you. I get it. There's many different things in my life like that. But Use all these questions and decide what you're going to do about it. Because truly, at the end of the day, we all know the only thing that matters is the action. Nothing else matters. And you're not going to see any change or results or improved feelings and alignment and creating a life you love if you don't create, if you don't do. You must act to see results. So I hope this episode was interesting and motivating, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. I hope you have a wonderful week whenever you're listening to this, or a happy Monday if you're one of those loyal people that listens every single Monday.